Hey there, welcome back to the From A to Z of Junior Golf podcast. Ryan Burr with my main man Aaron Zhang. And Aaron, great show planned today. How's the game?
It's been good. I'm headed the right direction right now. Just working on my short game and, also my full swing wedges as well. So I'm trending.
Ready to get back in the winner's circle. Speaking of the winner's circle, let's welcome in a two-time winner on the PGA Tour, the one and only Cam Champ. Cam, thanks so much for joining us. First question, your dad, professional baseball player. How did you choose golf?
Just at a young age, it was just kind of grandpa and I's thing. My dad didn't really know I even really played golf until I was about 3 or 4, or that my grandpa introduced me to the game. But even at an early age, I still played all sports. And still at that point, my dad thought I was going to be the next best baseball star in the Champ family. So, but as this time went on, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I liked golf a lot better. It was more fun. And I think that had a lot to do with grandpa. He used to, when he retired, he worked at a local golf course pretty much all day just to stay busy. And after school, I'd get dropped off out there all day till dark. And that was just kind of our thing.
Hey Cam, we've heard and seen the relationship between you and your grandfather. How did he get you into golf?
Just at a young age, him and his brothers in Columbus, that was just a way for them to make money caddying. At that time, obviously money, him making, if I recall what he made a week, like 25 cents a week was a lot. So him and his brothers, they would go out and caddy. They would double loop twice a day. And that's kind of how we got introduced to it. Obviously, at the young age, they all loved it. His first set of clubs they made out of a piece of steel and a stick and wrapped some leather around the grip. So he's always loved the game, and it just started from an early age.
Hey Cameron, how did you approach junior tournaments? Was your mindset always to win?
At the time, I really didn't understand it. I think my dad, he wanted me to always play against people who were better than me. That was kind of his thing. Obviously it worked out, but that was just to get me to push me more and to practice more, playing against players obviously who are older, who are better, who hit it further, who are better at everything, just to be able to see what they're doing and see how I could improve. So I think that really helped me, going into, junior golf. And then once I got my early teens in high school, starting to get to, where I was getting ranked and playing in, events with, the top juniors in the country. So I think that really helped me at an early age develop my game. And then even around home, we would go and play with, some of the best guys at our country club. At a young age, my dad would, we had some good buddies who are very close to us now. I would play them for like $2, which for a 10-year-old, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. So, with family and friends at our country club as well, just to get me kind of like into it and playing against people who are older than me and who are better.
Cam, you're having an incredible junior career. You're playing great golf, all the big events. How did it come that you chose Texas A&M? Was that always your first choice?
Well, it was honestly last. Going through the process, we had a family friend who went to UCLA who I looked up to when I was younger. So I thought I was going somewhere in California. I wasn't sure, I thought 100% UCLA, possibly USC or Stanford, just kind of stayed decently close to home. But it was really my first big event, junior event at Carlton Woods here in the Woodlands, which we just moved from out to Hockley. But it was my first invitational event in AJGA. And at the time, really, I was just starting to get up in the junior rankings, and people starting to, obviously hear that I hit it far and all that. And the A&M coach was like, "Hey, do you mind coming out? You're probably never going to come see it again," which I wasn't. If you never really came up to my dad or me, I had really no intention of going to A&M whatsoever. I didn't even know what A&M was. And we went out there, and I loved it. It's a small town. They have an amazing facility there on campus. The golf course we play is great. Their schedule, I just loved everything about it. It's not like California and UCLA. We're in the middle of downtown LA. Again, there's only, about 100,000 people in this town. And again, 70% of that is students. So it just kind of felt like the right fit. And again, a little bit further away from home, kind of can have my own space. And kind of grow up on my own. So, it was one of the best decisions ever.
Cameron, was there a moment in your amateur career when you knew you were going to make it onto the PGA Tour?
I think at the early stages, for me with our background, it was obviously my ultimate dream, but it still felt so far away. And I'm just saying that in the aspect of it, we didn't have much needs at all. I mean, I had to basically, me and my dad and my family, we had to do it all on our own. I had to figure out how to do it. I had to play well enough to get for one of my scholarship first, then get through school, then figure out Q school, and so on and so on. So I think for me, I hit rock bottom my freshman and sophomore year when I got hurt. So my first week of school, I fractured my back. I was out a year and a half.
Wow.
Trying to figure it out, and then I went to a specialist, and then a few months later I got better. So um, I think it was my junior summer where I qualified for the U.S. Open. I had a pretty decent end of that junior year. We made it to SEC championships. We played really well. And that summer, I think my worst finish was fifth in all the amateur events. So besides the U.S. Sam, and I think from there, playing at that U.S. Open really was like, okay, I can compete with these guys day in and day out. And that, I think that was when I realized, what, I got it. Just keep pushing, and eventually, the cream will rise to the top.
Cameron, obviously junior golf has been a huge part of your career. Now you have your own junior golf tournament. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So, I mean, for us, we wanted just to create something. I played in a tournament called the Bill Dickey for years. That was a huge minority event that, just got more minorities into the game. Had a nice tournament that, Mr. Dickey put on for years and years. And when he passed, it just kind of deflated a little bit. So, we thought, what, with our resources, with people we know, let's try and do something, kind of make, one of the best minority events in the country if we can. And obviously, the best person to name it after is my grandfather, Max. So that's kind of where the inspiration came. And my dad thought of it really because, again, the Bill Dickey, I played in it one of the last years it ever played. So, again, it was just trying to create a tournament, similar to Bill and what he did for the community and just his area, and us just try to do the same thing and give back in the same way. So obviously this year we weren't able to have it. We're going to have it in Houston, in my new hometown, but obviously with the situation we're in right now with COVID, that couldn't happen. So for the new year, we're still planning on doing it. We're just waiting again just to see what happens with everything and timelines and what we're allowed to do and whatnot. So, but obviously the ultimate goal would be to still have it this year. The tournament's called the Mac Champ Invitational. Again, we named it after my grandfather. And yes, there's a website, there's everything. And again, the tournament, we're doing it from, ages 5, 6, all the way up to high school. So we're able to cooperate with a bunch of junior and amateur tournaments to give exemptions for the winners. So that was kind of our thing, just to get them, a little excited, get them into the events, have some good competition, meet some people. Lee Elder was going to come out this year, which hopefully he still comes out next year. That would be amazing. And we'll definitely have some other spokespeople. But again, it's just, creating a buzz, creating a tournament for them, a little bit of excitement, meeting some people, within the community. That's been a huge inspiration to me, my family, and also just the Black and minority communities in general. So, but then also they get a little, again, a little surprises with exemptions into events and to play against bigger and even better people.
Well, that's amazing, Cameron. We actually have something in common. Sean Foley is both our swing coaches, but to you, he's actually also a mentor, not just in the golf swing, but as well as a mental coach to you. What does he mean to you throughout your junior career and now onto the PGA Tour?
He's like just a big brother, to be honest. I mean, again, at a young age, he took us in when we couldn't afford his hourly rate. So, and he knew that, but, Woody at the time, he caddied for Hunter Mahan, and it was just kind of like, hey, could you maybe help this kid out? And ever since there, we've been going full throttle. So, yeah, I just think over the years he's done more for me mentally aspect than even swing. It's the game. People don't realize how mentally tough golf is, especially when you turn pro. People have families, they have their normal lives behind, they have their wives, they have their kids, they have grandparents, they have their invest, they have everything. It's just, it's not just golf. So,
Yeah.
you have to be able to block that out to be able to push it out as much as you can when you play and not let it affect your game. So, for me, I'm learning that, as I go. I've always been a slow learner with some things, but I feel like, I'm really starting to grasp that concept and, to realize golf is just a game. It doesn't define who we are. Yes, it's my job. I love it. I love it more than anything. It's given me everything I've ever had. But at the same time, you have to, again, it's all about balance, and just appreciating where you are.
Good stuff, Cam. Both of your wins on the PGA Tour, it's been tough coming down the stretch. Tell us how, and our junior golfers, how do you stay in the moment when there's so much on the line and finish it off?
In those two times, the two times I've had 54 leads, obviously I've been able to close. Safeway, I just, that day I remember specifically I wasn't playing bad. I literally hit one bad shot on 8 where I made a bogey and I was 1 over through 9 and my 4-shot lead was gone. I just really didn't make anything that 9, but I knew I was playing well. You just have to just keep going. Eventually they're going to fall. You're going to hit some good shots. You're going to make some birdies. And I just stayed patient. And then, I went on my little run there, I think 4 in a row on the backside. And I won. So for that, it's just really just staying patient, realizing that I'm playing good golf. You can't force things. It's either going to happen or it's not. That's just what it is. You can't try to force birdies or try to force putts or try to do those because then you're just going to make even bigger errors. So that was really just what we focused on. And the same thing for Safeway. I was playing amazing that week. I mean, I think I made 3 bogeys or 4 bogeys all week. And even that final round, I was playing great. I obviously got off to a hot start, kind of deflated a little bit in the middle, but I knew I was playing well. And even, the shot on 17, which obviously would have been nice with a 2-shot lead instead of a 1-shot lead going into the last hole. But, that wedge shot, I remember I backed off and I told Kurt, my cat at the time, I was like, man, I'm so amped up. He's like, just back off and just relax. And, I like embracing that. It's not so much of a nervousness or worrying about winning. It's just more of like, man, I have a chance to win a golf tournament. So it's looking at it in a kind of the similar way, but looking at it also differently. And even though I hit a bad shot there, I kind of turned to him and laughed. I'm like, I knew that was going over the green because I was so amped up. So, but even then coming down the stretch on the last hole, I knew I had to birdie. I knew I had to. And, it was just more of just when you're in that situation, it's hard to get out of the moment. As far as just your shots, for me, I really wasn't thinking about winning. I was like, I have to get this up and down. That's it, and I think that putt with the situation with Grandpa was probably the most non-nervous, non-worrying, last hole of my golf career, to be honest. So I don't think I had one bit of nerves. It was just more of my family was there. I had to win. So I had no other option. I never thought I was going to lose. I never thought any of that. I knew I was going to win. So I think that's something that I always look back on to really realize that, it definitely helped me going forward.
Cam, I hear from a lot of our junior listeners that they have trouble eating and staying nutrition during a round. Did you have this problem? What recommendations do you have for our junior players?
Very important. And again, I'm a slow learner. I've learned that the hard way. In junior golf, I never ate. Obviously, I drink water, but I've never eat. Even kind of through college, I got better. But then once I came out, through the web, and even this year and last year, it's something that I've done some stuff with some of my team, as far as doing blood work and figuring out what foods work well for me. What gives me the proper energy, because you lose your energy levels extremely faster than people think. Like Justin Rose, I know he eats like 1,500 calories in a round. So it's very important. And I know at times, even last year and earlier in the year, I can get bad at that. And I know, because again, it's just more of I want to play. I want to get going. Like, I'm not really worried about eating, because you're just excited to play. Like I love teeing it up on the first tee and just going. But throughout the round, you can see, whether if you're starting off good and then you have like a 6-hole stretch where it's just like flatlined. So throughout the year, we looked at the data, and you can just see the trends of where I play good and where I don't, and then where I come back up. So, energy levels is extremely key, and it's something that I'm working extremely hard on, just to create a system where, I can, do it every single time repetitively, to where it gives me, again, the best ability to play my best golf.
Cam, incredible what you're doing with Prairie View A&M. Tell us about the scholarship.
It's just going to help the next generation. It's going to help the kids. My dad, I live about 20 minutes from Prairie View. I'm in Hockley, Texas. We have a bunch of family friends who went to Prairie View and played golf. So obviously, Glenn Weckerlin with Chevron, we've become very good friends over the years. And we just thought, with what the chair did at the Masters last week, and the just announcements, it's now, it's not later. We decided, that's just something that I want to be involved in, that my family does, that our foundation does. And obviously, with it being close, it has just a little more, feeling towards me and my family. So, again, it's about helping the next generation. It's about, giving back, more than I was given. I was given so much at a young age from certain people who helped me get here. And for me, no matter if I have $5 or I have $1 million, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I'm going to give as much as I can, if not everything I have, to the next generation. So, for the men's and women's golf team, giving those scholarships, and then obviously having, a few other people that are going to be behind my back on it is amazing. It's a start. It's not the end game at all. It's never going to end. It should never end. It's just a start. So, I think with everything going on, especially with last week at Augusta, or 2 weeks ago, with Mr. Elder announcing on the first tee, I go, it's amazing. He was the first ever to play at Augusta. And again, for me, he's my grandfather looked up to him. So, for someone still in my grandfather's generation, again, who was the first African-American to play, who has done so much for his community, it's just amazing for me to see. And it's just an inspiration, again, for everything that they've gone through in their past, to be able to still, come out and be a huge influence on the community. So, for me, for my family, our foundation, we're just trying to, again, do as much as we possibly can for our next generation. I'm happy to help the men's and women's team.
Cameron, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. You truly are an inspiration to all the junior golfers out there, and we really appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Really incredible stuff from Cam Champ.
Yeah,
this is a guy that has major championships in his future, and really just gets it, giving back to everyone in the game of golf, from his foundation to what he's doing with his own junior golf tournament, and now really helping out Prairie View A&M. Incredible interview with Cam Champ. Bringing our next guest, he is a big part of what TaylorMade is doing out there. Welcome in Ryan Ressa. And Ryan, let's just start with our audience, the junior golfers and their families out there. When should a junior golfer, when they realize that this is something they want to do at a pretty serious level, when should they think about getting fit for their own personal clubs?
Question. I think a lot of it has to do, depending on size and the growth spurts that obviously come along, and honestly how serious a kid is in pursuing competitive golf. I know when I started playing, and a lot of people growing up, they took hand-me-downs from their dad or their mom, and they learned to play. So I think it's a balance of how competitive you want to be, and obviously how much you've grown. But there's certainly some components of the golf club that are really, really important in the development of a young player. So I think, just to expand on that, you want to focus on the length, making sure your kid's in a good posture, and the weighting of these golf clubs is so important. And that's why some of these companies that have developed some lighter golf clubs have really done a nice job for the younger kids. Let's say eight and under. I know it sounds crazy, but there's so many kids playing from 5, 6, 7 years old, and having something light enough for them to swing and stay in balance and all those things is really, really important. And obviously, you've heard a lot of emphasis on swing hard over the last 6 months, and we see more and more athletes come out. So I think it's good to get your kid, swinging as hard as possible, and also kind of keeping the balance and everything that comes with a good golf swing.
Ryan, there's so many different types of golf balls out there to choose from. Does the golf ball matter And also, why is TaylorMade different from other brands?
I think it starts with the cover, right? And the urethane cover that our golf ball has is really, really important. It imparts the spin and the feel that I think a lot of people are looking for. But it's one of those things too that it's all dependent on what age you are and how hard you're hitting the golf ball and those kinds of things. So again, I like to group them into different categories, and maybe the under 10s, and then you got your 10 to 13s, and then 13 plus once they start growing and hitting the ball a lot harder. The golf balls start to matter more and more, probably past age 13, 14. Once you're almost fully developed and by age 18 to 20, you're pretty much dialed. You're going to get a little bit stronger, but there is some difference in the golf ball. And I think for the younger kids, boys and girls, I think it's better to err on the high side of spin, and find a golf ball that spins enough and that also provides the distance. And I think there's a lot of good golf balls in that category that do that. So it's a pretty simple test. I think you can take them on the golf course and just see which one seems to stay in the air a little bit longer and maybe carry it further, because distance is important when you're growing and when you're a little bit smaller. So finding the right balance so you have the feel around the greens, and then also something that's maximizing your distance as you're growing. We have two different golf balls, our tour golf balls, the TP5 and the TP5X, and they both do different things trajectory-wise. And the TP5 is kind of your traditional tour ball that spins a little bit more, and the 5X is designed for kind of the next generation of golfers. It actually launches higher and spins less. It gets to a higher peak height. Again, I don't want to get too technical, but it actually will go further just based on the way it launches and spins less. But again, for a younger player with not as much speed, I think the spin on the golf balls will help keep it in the air and translate to probably more distance.
Certainly, Ryan, if you're watching the PGA Tour, like so many of our players, or the LPGA Tour, which so many of our listeners are aspiring to one day play on, and you're watching on Golf Channel or some of the networks, they are inundated with the different manufacturers out there. Why is TaylorMade the choice that you recommend, certainly for all of our junior players?
Company for 9 years now, and I've been a kind of ambassador before that. I was coaching college golf, and so I was always affiliated with the company, and I've just seen a great transition, especially in the last 5 years with our CEO, David Abley, about just becoming a total brand, a performance brand that covers all categories, not just metalwoods like we started out as. And honestly, for the last 30 years, we're a big driver metalwoods company, but we've embraced the golf ball, we've embraced the wedges, the irons, the putter. And I feel like we have the best 14 clubs in golf ball in the industry right now. Based on performance, we're always pushing to innovate and make players, make the game more fun for everybody, and also help the players at the highest level achieve their goals and play their best.
Great stuff, Ryan. How has the pandemic affected TaylorMade?
Well, it's obviously, we're in a different spot now as we talk in December than we were back in March. And in March and April were tough months for the golf industry and TaylorMade specifically. I think, with golf courses shutting down and the uncertainty of what was going to happen in the future, it was definitely a tough time. As we got to June and we started to see some positives and golf courses were opening back up, I think everybody in the industry benefited from that as people were getting outside. It was a safe activity to be outside playing, and we've all heard about the success everybody's had in Q3. And the beauty of it, like you mentioned earlier, with the large number of juniors, is that it's just brought a lot of people to the game, right? So I think that for us is the exciting thing, and that's where we are today in December. Who knows what it looks like, a week from now? But today, I think we're really excited about the way the game is trending and the influx of people that have come through the last 6 months. We just hope that everybody can stay safe and get out there and enjoy the game. And I think with the new people coming to the game, it's in a really good spot.
Ryan, for the aspiring players out there who have already accomplished so much, what's the best way for them to go about trying to receive a sponsorship from TaylorMade?
We get that question a lot too. So obviously the easiest thing to say, and you've heard it or told it, it's just to play great. Obviously we're looking for the players who can perform the best and ultimately get to college and hopefully get to the LPGA or PGA Tour. But with that being said, like that's such a that's a tough thing to do, and we're not just exclusively taking care of the top players in the world. I mean, our job is to find people that can influence others to play the product, right? Ultimately, we work in the marketing arm of the business, and that is the goal. So it's not just about playing great. Obviously, that's a huge part of it, but if you're a kid that has influence, or I mean, social media is so prevalent nowadays that influencers in the game of golf are there. And there's a lot of junior golfers that have a lot of followers, and what they say and do is looked up to. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. But, we get so many emails every day about, hey, here's my results, and would you give me a sponsorship, that it's, you kind of want to separate yourself. And it's the same thing, when you're going to be recruited in college, you're trying to find a way to separate yourself and get that coach to recognize you. So we're in a similar position. So again, Instagram or things like that kind of other people take notice of, that helps. But at the end of the day, if you're playing great golf, that's the easy way out, right?
Yeah. And finally, Ryan, how special was it for TaylorMade to have Dustin Johnson win the Masters and receive the green jacket from Tiger?
I mean, what a week, right? I mean, we've been anticipating the Masters for, it seemed like, 2 years, and having Tiger there, and just the way it all went down this year, it was incredible. And you saw obviously the emotion that DJ felt accepting that prize and winning that golf tournament. I think everybody in our company, gets goosebumps talking about it. And we were around DJ last week, and the guy is just, he's just so excited, and everybody's excited for him. I think the golf game is in such a great spot that we got great athletes out there competing every week, and regardless of what company they play or clubs they play. I mean, we're in such a good spot that we just like to see these majors get, run out and great golf be played. It was really exciting, and obviously Tiger handing in the jacket was just icing on the cake. So we got spoiled this year. We had an incredible year, 2 out of 3 majors, and our young guy Colin winning. It was just it was a great year for TaylorMade, and I think that's a testament to the people we have and the products that we're running out there.
Thanks so much to Ryan Ressa from TaylorMade, giving our junior players a great look inside how important it is to get fitted, and why TaylorMade is a great choice, if indeed that is the choice you make for your son or daughter. Our next guest, certainly a very important guest, as the landscape for college recruiting is constantly changing. As we do on every From A to Z of Junior Golf podcast, welcome in Roger Knick from the Junior Golf Hub.
Hey Roger, thanks for joining us once again. As you might know, the NCAA has pushed the dead period back to April 15th. What does this mean for junior golfers and college recruiting?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be here. Love sharing information. But yeah, so the dead period, obviously it's a tough one for everyone, and for the junior golfers out there especially, kind of feel like it might be unfair, and they're so close maybe to making the decision, or hopefully to making the decision and getting picked or picking their destinations. But the reality is, I mean, there's still other ways, and there's still means of communication that junior golfers can have. Obviously, the dead period in itself just means no live contact face-to-face or on campus or off campus. No visits, that kind of thing. But the reality is there's still lots of ways to communicate via Skype or Zoom call. You can get on, and obviously the Junior Golf Hub for us is a great tool for those junior golfers to make sure that those coaches are still seeing activity of what those juniors are doing. So it really means a lot to coaches to see that these young players are continuing their development, whether it's golf or academics and physical. What are they doing? Hopefully they're not just sitting around, right?
Roger, from the college perspective, and I know you talk with all the biggest, the best, and the smallest, but you have your finger on that pulse as well. What is their plan going to be now for 2021 and recruiting? I know we've had the National Letter of Intent Day, but there are still a lot of kids that have not signed. And to be frank, do the coaches know how many spots they're going to even have for these 2021s?
That's a great question, Ryan. And, one of the things that we're hearing from the coaches, they just don't know. This is a really extremely tough time for them as well. Obviously, a lot of budget things are happening. I'm hearing coaches, as a matter of fact, I've got a meeting with a coach tomorrow who has a huge budget, conversation with his school, whether they have a program next spring and even next fall. So these coaches are under a lot of stress right now on what their team size may be or may not be, whether they have a team or don't, whether they're traveling or not. So they certainly want to try to stay positive. They are staying positive. that they hope to have a team next year, or maybe they can expand their team. Roster spots are changing. They've got the idea of, with the eligibility being extended, now you have to think about, how many kids are coming back. So they're dealing with that. Some kids was a yes in this fall and maybe might be a no this spring now that, things have changed. So it is an ever-changing landscape for those guys as well. And it's really difficult. The top schools obviously are always going to have a little bit of an advantage, I believe, just because of their roster size and depth of what they can do. And obviously everybody wants to be at the top 50 programs.
No doubt. Roger, as always, for the kids and the parents at home, they don't have to do this alone. The Junior Hub is a great support system, so they don't have to do it alone. How can they get in touch?
Absolutely. Let's go to juniorgolfhub.com, sign in, get their profile, download the app. Obviously, all the information's there. Sign up for Hit the Links. It's a great tool also for information about what's going on out there in the landscape. So love to help in any way we can.
All right. As always, we thank Roger Knick. Appreciate your time, Roger, and definitely take advantage of the Junior Golf Hub. As always, we thank Roger Knick. And Aaron, this global pandemic, obviously it's having an effect on so many families in the United States, not only in the golf world, but across civilization for sure. So we appreciate the information from Roger. Really incredible podcast. Thanks for joining us again.
Sure.
How about that interview with Cam Champ, though? What really stood out to you?
Yeah, it was an amazing interview. He just had a lot to say, and his story into golf is really inspiring. He almost found it accidentally. He wasn't planning to become a golfer. His parents were baseball players, so it was a bit of a surprise for him. But once he got into the sport, he really loved it. He started practicing really hard and just got really good at it.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it, right? You can't fake it. That you have to have that fire inside.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing.
Most important thing. So that's going to do it for this edition of the From A to Z Junior Golf Podcast. As always, for Aaron Zhang, I'm Brian Burt. We'll see you back here next time.